Job Hunting
101.
Providing you with the tools you need in your job search.
Career fairs, resume writing, job banks, veteran programs.
Job Hunting
101.
Hello everyone, and welcome to the first edition of Job Hunting 101. This is the first in the series of shows that will be giving some information regarding careers, getting a job, and keeping a job. My name is Dale Green, host of the program of this first in a series, as I said, and I work as a career manager for Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance. We're delighted to have on our show today two wonderful people who come from different walks of life, but they're in the business arena. Phyllis K. Timmons is the HR business partner at Raymond James, and we also have Terry Furr Hoskins, who has a very specific title. She's Vice President of People at Front Burner Brands. Welcome to our show. We're delighted to have you today. How are you both?
Thank you. Very well, thanks.
Well, you know, first impressions are everything, and I just wanted to get right into it. In terms of, we talked about some models that we're going to have on the show, but I must say that you all make a very good first impression. Phyllis, you're in the business arena at Raymond James. You're in the business arena also, Terry, but you represent different products or different brands. How important, Phyllis, I'll ask you first, is it to make a good first impression when somebody comes in the door to apply for a position?
Well, the business that we are in certainly is a relationship business, so that first impression is extremely important. We really make decisions sometimes based on that first impression when they're coming in for an interview. So I think in my book, it's the first step, the first proactive step in getting the job.
Right. Yours is a conservative business. It's in the financial arena, so it's Tampa Bay's version of Wall Street.
Exactly. As a matter of fact, we are the premier alternative to Wall Street. We like to say that that is what we offer to clients, where you don't have to go with the big wirehouse firms. You can come to an independent, very conservative financial advisor firm
Right
locally.
There. Instead of Wall Street, it's right there on Caroline Parkway.
Exactly.
Terry, your brand, you represent the hospitality industry. People have to, besides a lot of life necessities, folks have to eat, don't they?
They sure do.
Okay. And you have the brands that you have under the Front Burner umbrella would be the Melting Pot, Grillsmith, and Burger 21.
That's correct.
How's the business going?
Actually, the business is going very well. Burger 21 is a new concept to the Tampa Bay market, and it's expanding and doing quite well. So we're very pleased with our gourmet, chef-inspired burgers.
Right. How important to you are first impressions when you're hiring as the Vice President of People? You see people make the world go round.
They do. When people come into the hospitality industry, their first impression is it's more casual, and so I don't need to dress for this position. But that's a mistake. They need to make sure that they approach it from a professional business standpoint, and the ones that come in for management positions, we're looking for suits. We're looking for professional attire. So if you come in with that casual look, you know, no jeans, no sneakers, and we see some of that. And we try to coach and counsel people and say, it's better that you present yourself in a business environment, although we work in the hospitality world.
Right. I wanted to ask both of you to respond to this, and that would be, what if somebody overdresses? I mean, in other words, a three-piece suit with fedora, you know, the hat and the matching for a man rather, and a lot of jewelry. What's the norm in your arena, Phyllis?
I think initially, you know, that would discount the person if they came in the door dressed that way. First of all, it doesn't fit, you know, our conservative image. It's overkill, frankly.
Right.
And so I do believe that at that point we probably would not proceed further, because you know, how do you coach someone on that in the interview process? Right. You really can't. If they don't bring that in the door with them, or that understanding in the door with them, it's pretty difficult to give them that kind of feedback.
Right. And Terry, in your arena, the associates wear uniforms,
They do.
but still getting past the first hurdle is very important. And the uniforms are just that, they are uniform. And how important is it that they, again, make the best first impression in terms of not coming assuming that they have a polo shirt, khaki skirt, or khaki pants. That's not the look you're looking for.
Not
On a first
particularly.
step,
On the first interview, not particularly, because what we're looking for is someone that presents our brand and making sure that they have what it takes to be able to present that uniform that they have to wear. So they take pride in what they wear, and that shows in the interview process as well. That would show, they would carry that forward also in their day-to-day work when they show up for work. Because when you come in to a restaurant and you're looking around to decide, you know, am I gonna dine here tonight? And if a waiter approaches you or a host or hostess approaches you and their uniform is wrinkled or doesn't look appropriate, you know, that influences your decision of if you're going to dine or not. So we look for people that present that image to us when they want to join our organization, just as they present the image to our people, our guests that enter our restaurants.
Right.
So we're looking for that professional look all the time.
Great. Now, I don't want to go into a format where we're back and forth each one. We'll just have an open conversation, a very candid and friendly conversation. I wanted to find out about the second interview. Some people end up doing a second or follow-up interview, and sometimes they do a third interview, and then there are panel interviews. Let's talk about the second interview, how I guess you have to make notes and take notes of what to wear and what not to wear. Let's start out with the men in both of your work arenas.
You know, Dale, I don't think the second interview is much different than the first
Okay.
I
interview.
agree 100%.
So you want to make another best impression.
Exactly, exactly. And I would also add, you know, even though Raymond James is a conservative firm and there is an image that we like to present, not all jobs are professional jobs. So there are some business casual
Such
jobs.
as the mailroom.
Exactly, the mailroom or maybe the back office, if you will. And so the point I'd like to make here is that even though in your day-to-day work down the road you may not be wearing that business suit, the expectation is that coming in for the interviews, whether it's the first interview, the second interview, you know, you would wear that professional business suit in order to get the job.
Okay. Your take on this?
Oh, same thing. It doesn't matter if it's the first, second, or like you said, a panel interview, which sometimes we do. You may talk to several managers in the restaurant when you're getting hired. We still want to make sure that you maintain that same look and that same professionalism. So, yeah, there's really no difference. It's the same.
What are some, I want to get into some do's and don'ts. Let's start out with the men. What should they wear? What should they not wear? Let's go with what they should wear, first of all.
Go ahead.
Okay, well, I think certainly a business suit, and in our environment, typically a white shirt, maybe a light blue shirt with a tie that really doesn't pop too much, that doesn't jump out too much. And I think there's one thing, and I've heard our executives comment on this with candidates, the shoes. A lot of people don't believe that their shoes are important, and I think some men don't believe that their shoes are important, but shoes truly need to be polished and shined in an interview. It's something that's easy to forget and not think about because you're sitting perhaps under a desk or under a table and people don't think, but you are also walking through the halls, you're walking into another executive's office, and believe it or not, we get feedback on shoes.
And so people, other associates, other managers are checking out the candidates head to toe.
Absolutely.
They really are.
Right. What are some of the do's for women? Definite do's.
For the women, it's a simple hairstyle. You know, nothing elaborate in your hair. You know, nothing with jewels or anything in your hair. Very smooth. You know, nothing real erratic. Simple makeup. You know, I would not use bright colors, anything real dramatic on your eyes or on your lips. Nails as well. I would keep those very professional. Color, you don't want your color, again, like she said with the tie, don't have it pop. You know, your nails should be there, but they should not be the focus point.
Clear.
Suit should be clear, would definitely be a nice choice. From the suit perspective, again, the grays, the blues, the blacks, and it doesn't have to be, you know, the matching jacket and pants. It can be, you can have a black and white pair of pants with a black jacket. That's perfectly fine. And for the blouse, you know, a nice white crisp blouse, it looks very nice on an interview. And again, the shoes, that's important. Like she was saying with the men, closed-toed shoes is just more professional. It looks better. It's a better presentation.
Right. I once told a candidate who was homeless with her teenage daughters for a couple of weeks at the workforce, at Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance, something about if you want that job for this major retailer, I had to actually tell her suggest what to wear. Navy blue suit, white blouse, no open-toe shoes, very conservative, and go over there and get and ask for the job. And she's been working at this, not to be named office retailer, for the past 5 years. That's a success story. And you all represent success stories. You have people who have been with the organization for, what are some of the tenures? Several years, several months? Give us an idea of some success stories that you know about.
Raymond James, of course, is a family-oriented firm that's been in the area for many, many years. And we have our tenure, there's people that have been there for 35 years.
Right.
And I would call them success stories. And they are professional people that, did not come in the door at the level that they've aspired to today. But I want to go back to your other question, because I think there's one entity that really hits both male and female, and that is, the object of cologne. One of the things, and I remember this back from my days at another financial services firm when people came in for interviews, if your cologne precedes you, then you've made a wrong choice. And so I think that affects both males and females. So it's something I wanted to put out there and make sure that everyone understood that.
It should too be conservative and subtle, just a hint of a scent.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's best to have none versus too much.
Sure, sure.
That's true.
What about, can you think of anything else in terms of what to and what not to wear? Because we talk about wear. I even want to talk about the handbags. We can get to that in another segment. How much jewelry and what you wear. Do you wear your cell phones with you? Probably not. I noticed that you all are in a business world and you have to stay in touch, but you're not operators standing by. You cut the phones off.
That's right.
And they're here in another part of the studio.
Yes, we have to. I mean, sometimes you have to do that. You have to focus your attention on what you're doing at that moment. For us, it's this. For the person that's interviewing, it's that actual, they want to get that job. So it's not about what that friend just texted you and that you need to respond to it. Put that phone away, turn it off. Don't just put it on vibrate. Turn it off, because, or leave it in the car. Don't even take it in, so then you're not even tempted. So it's best to stay away from it. Yeah.
Right. This is something that's related. We have a couple of minutes just more in this segment, but what if somebody says, Phyllis, I'm coming into you, I'm expecting a call from my daughter's school, and I would like permission to take one call just to respond whether I can pick my child up or not. What do you all think about that?
I think in that particular example, this is my personal opinion of that. Having been a parent, I understand that there sometimes is a necessity. I think that if there's a heads up on that, you have to understand it as an interviewer. You have to understand that there might be an emergency, that there might be some call, and especially if it's related to a child. I think that the good news there is someone telling you that up front. Because if something did happen that they needed to be reached, I wouldn't want to be responsible for them not being able to be reached.
Right. Terry, if somebody's wearing an earpiece, I guess the Bluetooth or whatever, I mean, with all this equipment and something on the side here, that's all a part of what you're wearing.
Yes.
And that's not a good thing, is it?
It's not at all.
Yeah.
It's not at all. Some people even forget they have those earpieces attached. They just become a part of who they are. So yeah, it's not a good idea. Take it off, remove it, leave it outside.
Right.
Yeah.
We are going to continue our conversation with both of you because I think it's pretty interesting that we can pull some of these things out. We're going to get into some other things such as your first job, your journey, what did you wear, do you remember, that sort of thing. We'll be back with more of our series on Job Hunting 101 in just a moment.
Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance and WorkNet Pinellas offer workforce solutions designed to improve your business.
We have worked with WorkNet since 2005. We've been able to do so much more than we would have with the support from WorkNet.
We've been able to continue to develop our education department. Our employees have recognized this as a benefit. They've named us as one of the best places to work for the past 4 years, according to the Tampa Bay Business Journal.
To learn more about our no-cost programs and services, visit workforcetampa.com or worknetpinellas.org.
Big dreams and good grades aren't enough to get into college. There are actual steps you need to take. Finding someone who can help is the first and most important. For the next steps, go to knowhowtogo.org.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who do something, the people who take action, are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Job seekers, you can upload your resume, view job postings, and research labor market information at employflorida.com. And once again, welcome back to Job Hunting 101. My name is Dale Green. I'm joined by Phyllis and Terry. You've joined the program. We thank you for joining today. We're going to go back in time, I'm not going to say how much time, to talk about our first experiences, our business casual jobs, and we'll bring that fast forward to what's happening in today's society, albeit with the information superhighway and that sort of thing. Terry, can you tell us about what you wore on your first job and how what went into the decision, whether you were a teenager or just maybe a college internship or what have you?
Sure. And thank you. That's very kind of you to not go back in time.
Right.
Not specify the time.
Right.
So yeah, actually, yeah, business casual was definitely my look. I worked in. I've not always been in HR. Not always thought I wanted to do HR, which is what I do now. So my first job was actually in the clothing store. So I worked for Liz Claiborne, very early. I was still a student, and I worked there just to get the clothes. So, I wanted to use all of my paycheck and buy clothes. So when I went to interview, knowing that I was interviewing, I took in consideration what industry that I was walking into and what I wanted to become a part of. So I made sure that I represented what Liz Claiborne represented as a brand, and I made sure that that I was professional, but didn't want to overdo it, because it's not like it was an office environment. It was a store. It was a department store.
Have you ever had an interview where you had some regrets in terms of what you wore?
Yes, actually I have. One of the things that when you look at the world, I worked in the finance world before I moved into HR. And I remember wearing a dress and a jacket that was very pretty, but maybe not as professional as it should have been. I felt very good in it. However, the world that I was entering into was more, as we described earlier, the suit, which was the blacks, the browns, the blues, and I didn't. I went in more of a brighter color. It was actually it was a red, but it was a very dull looking red. And I thought it would be fine, but it wasn't. And I knew, I could feel it immediately when I walked in. And one of the most important things is whatever you're wearing, you need to be comfortable in it. And I did not, because I knew that I was different than everyone else that I was interviewing with.
And that perhaps may have affected your persona in your interview process.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
it does.
Sure. Phyllis, other than working, being tapped, being assigned, being designated to work in your father's restaurant, outside of the restaurant, your very first job, can you recall maybe what happened on your experience, first experience?
I can, Dale. First of all, it was in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
And so different environment than what I'm in today. And I went for this interview with one job in mind, specifically. It was with an oil company, so I started out my career in the oil business. Ended up getting a very different job because they thought that I would be good for the human resources department. So I went in looking for a word processing job, was dressed to get a word processing job, so I wasn't dressed as professionally as I maybe should have been for the HR position that they ultimately gave me. But I guess you would say today it would be equated to our business casual is the way that I went in there. So in that particular instance, I guess for me, what came out of my mouth and the interview itself was something that told them I had skills that they wanted to utilize in the HR department.
Any regrets about something that you may have worn in a subsequent job that you wish you could have taken back?
Well, I will tell you there is one, and it wasn't in an interview process, so I hope that's good because I do think they're still learning here. One of my favorite suits is a pink and white suit. It's beautiful. And I wore that when I first met with our current CEO at Raymond James, and I could feel in the room, I was in the room with him and another person, and I was not at my best because I knew that I didn't look like I fit in. So the lessons learned there is that whether it's in an interview or after you get the job, you know, you have to understand the culture, you have to understand the expectations of the business, because all businesses are different. And then you really do have to dress, if you want to be successful, the way the culture indicates that you should.
Interesting point, because I guess if you look on the website, how they're dressed on the website that's their brand, that's who they are.
You're right.
I remember seeing a guy over in Clearwater at, I think it was a Kiwanis or Optimist Club, and he came from Hawaii, and he was a guest optimist at the luncheon, at the monthly luncheon, and he didn't have on a tie or anything like that. He was dressed in the attire that they wear on the island, one of the islands of Hawaii. And I want to just relay a story of mine. I waited tables in the summers in Indiana. I grew up in Tallahassee. And I went to see, I passed by this hotel a lot under construction, the Sheraton Hotel. And I just happened to work at the Sheraton in French Lick, Indiana, at a resort. Okay. So I kept passing by and I saw the manager, I saw somebody sitting out back there, and I pulled, sitting out front, and I pulled the bus cord, got off the bus, and I said, I introduced myself, and I said, I'm a full-time student who's looking for a part-time job. And that's the hidden job market. But I had on the attire that they wear, that I wore in Indiana, and the yellow jackets in Indiana with the short ones. Here they wore the red jackets. So whether you're in uniform or out of uniform, there's something that is to be said for, again, as we said in the first segment, making that very first impression.
Yes.
Exactly.
Can't do it enough. What are some of the things that people should stay away from, men and women in turn? We talked about the scent of the cologne, which can remind one of one's former significant other.
I think one example that I'd like to share, and this happened actually in an interview that I did within the last 6 months, but the individual came in with open-toe shoes, which for me is a no-no in an interview. But worse than that, the toenail polish was brilliant blue. Oh. And immediately, I mean, it was hard for me to proceed with the interview because that stopped me. And I will tell you, we went through a shorter interview than I normally would go through. And I discounted the person as a result of it because I thought that was not good judgment coming into an interview.
Wow. Speaking of that, speaking of blue, sky blue, there was a bank executive who once said a young lady came in to get a customer service position. True story. She's now the branch bank, easier for you to say, branch bank manager, you know what I mean. Okay, the manager of the bank. And the lady came in, the applicant came in with a child. It wasn't her child. She didn't have any children. It was like 7, 8-year-old child. And the branch manager came out and said, ma'am, you're not ready for the interview today. Go ahead, and she suggested what she should do. She came back the next day, did not have the child, and wore that conservative gray and got the job and has been working at the bank ever since. So I think that's a pretty good situation. Terry, if somebody came into one of the front brand products, of one of the front brand stores, or in your case, the vice president of people, and they came in dressed in a outfit that, like what I did at the hotel, sort of somewhat to the uniform. And they were an everyday hourly person who gets tips. What about that? Is that acceptable? Not a manager or an assistant manager.
It really is.
Okay.
It's okay. It shows that you have done enough research, that you understand what the look is, you know, for the restaurants, and you understand what you need to represent. So it's okay. You know, business casual is fine for those. I think it's just the effort that you put into ensuring that your clothing is properly pressed, ensuring that your clothing is, or dry cleaned, whichever one it is, and that it just makes a nice presentation. I think that's important.
Right. What are some of the things we should not wear? You can start anywhere you want. I mean, other than the cologne, the open-toe shoes. We talked about not having the cell phone as an accessory because, or the earpiece. That's all about what you wear. Men shouldn't wear hats.
That's correct.
Right,
No
right.
hats, no sneakers, no T-shirts.
But this is Florida. This is the subtropics.
It is.
But
You're
this
right.
is an interview.
This is an interview.
So that's
Yeah.
the difference. I think also, you know, for women, low plunging blouses, short, tight skirts, that's just not demonstrating good judgment to go into an interview. I would even carry it as far as to say a suit that doesn't fit. Now, I know that may sound harsh, but you know, you have somebody that comes in and the suit is just pulling and tight, and to me that just doesn't show good judgment as well.
Right. It makes one wonder, the interviewer wonder who are they trying to impress in terms of I work out and I have a nice body, nice physique, or am I trying to get the job and impress you with some skills and skill sets that I have?
Well, and as I said before, when the woman came in with the open-toe shoes, that first impression was such that I didn't do a good interview with her because I'd already ruled her out.
Wow.
I made that type of judgment call.
Right. Something else one wears, I have a clipboard here. Maybe I should have brought a portfolio and had a nice, whether I paid $5.95 or $55.95. If I open it up, I can, you know, thumb through my pages. How important, because that's all part of your dress, things you bring in. I have my resume and I have some references and that sort of thing. What should I wear?
I encourage you to bring, you made a good point, I encourage you to bring a resume. Even though they may have a resume that you have sent in electronically or they've downloaded off of, you know, the internet, it's important to bring another copy. And it's nice, it's good to have it on good paper, you know, because that again is a representation of you. But as far as a portfolio or a briefcase, either are acceptable, as long as they are, they're, you know, like a black in nature or brown, or, you know, and they're just very subtle. You know, I would not bring in something that has neon colors on it, or you know, that has a, you know, it really stands out, that really draws attention to that away from you. The thing that you want to do is dress and bring any accessories with you that don't take attention from you, that you want the interviewer to focus on you and what you have to bring to the table.
Right. Phyllis, I'll just ask you this. In your arena, if somebody had a briefcase and had a keychain attached to it with all these keys and a cell phone, what does that say? Isn't that what we mean by too much baggage?
Well, let me address the briefcase first, because I think when I see that, and every now and then we do see it, to me that is overkill in regards to an interview, because frankly there isn't any reason to bring a briefcase into an interview. Now, portfolios, absolutely, I agree with Terry on that. I think, in fact, to me it's necessary, because first of all, I'd like to see people open it up. I'm hoping that they have questions that they've documented in their portfolio that they can reference. I ask a lot of questions. I want to know, I ask them about their research and what they've done to know more about Raymond James. And so to me, that's the purpose of that portfolio, for them, it's to guide them, it's their script, if you will. Because as you all know, we have to prep before we go into an interview. And I know that's probably the subject of another part of this series, but that's very important. And to the keys and the cell phone, it just is inexcusable.
The cell phone is off, but it's still dangling there in a bright neon polka dot color.
It's a distraction, and not necessary.
Right, and I think as Terry mentioned, and I'm glad you did cover that, not only if you don't know whether you're going to be interviewed by one person or several people.
That's right.
Have copies of your resume. I think one of the worst things to do is to say, listen, I have 5 copies of the resume, but there are 7 people. Say, can you make me a copy? No, that's not being prepared.
It's not at all.
Exactly.
In terms of what you wear, part of what you wear in terms of your follow-up, should I get a thank you card from one of the major card stores? I'll just say Hallmark, American Greetings, or should I say it in my own words in terms of following up with a thank you card?
It's much better when you say it in your own words. You know, there are nice thank you cards out there that just have thank you on the front, turn it inside. You can say exactly what you want. It's showing your sentiments, which shows how well you write. It's a good representation of your ability to you know, write a nice thank you note. So yeah, I would definitely write it myself.
Right, but you should be the human spell check, right?
Right, and I would just piggyback on that. I think in this day and age of technology, I think a lot of people presume that it's okay to send an email. But to Terry's point, I mean, it is so much more important for that hiring manager to have a physical note from you that first of all, it's a reminder of you. And not everyone's going to do it. So you're going to stand out if you do send them a note. And then with regard to the technology, you can get lost in many emails. And if they don't, they may have interviewed 10 candidates for that job. They may not even know your name. So the physical note is quite appropriate, and I concur that, you know, just a thank you and you write it in your own words, because that will mean something to them.
Right. I'm so old school that I think in the case of Mr. Willis back to the hotel, I sent him a postcard. A postcard, because I wanted to make sure that it was postmarked that day. The other thing, I did it on purpose, so that when he got it, he could see that, well, everybody gets it, and everybody can see it, I should say. The secretary, the mail person, and they can all see, oh, you have a nice little, and that sort of puts you out there on Front Street. The emails do get lost in today's society.
Oh, yes, they do. And you're right about the postcard, because it's not something that that has to be opened by this person.
Sure,
yeah,
it's out of the
you're right.
box.
Other people can read it. The other thing I want to add to that is, don't just send one. Send it to all of the people that you interviewed with. Don't just send one to the primary contact person, because you need to show that respect to all the people that you interviewed with.
We'll talk about maybe at another show, another time in this series, about what to put on there, because it should be in your own words. We're enjoying our conversation here with these two HR professionals here on this series of Job Hunting 101. We'll be back with more of our program very shortly. Employers, you can search candidate resumes and research labor market information at employflorida.com.
The Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance and WorkNet Pinellas offer workforce solutions designed to improve your business.
I've really valued my relationship with WorkNet Pinellas and have been instrumental in keeping us informed with new educational trends.
We've really seen our employees grow in their own personal development. It has not only exceeded Power Design's expectations, but our employees' expectations as well.
To learn more about our no-cost programs and services, visit workforcetampa.com or worknetpinellas.org.
Don't say that. You don't have to look at it. People a little bit more creative. I'm going to say nothing. Left-handed people are smart. They are.
Mom, I have a. Dad, do you want to get the phone?
No.
Every year, 1 million families face losing their homes to foreclosure. If you're ignoring your mortgage issues, things will only get worse. Call 1-888-995-HOPE, because nothing is worse than doing nothing. These things we count on every day started as ideas. Ideas from the minds of African Americans. Support minority education today so we don't miss out on the next big idea tomorrow. The United Negro College Fund. A mind is a terrible thing to waste.
Susan, why should I volunteer to do other people's taxes?
You'll help hard-working Hillsborough residents get all the tax credits they're entitled to, and you'll learn a valuable new skill.
What's the time commitment?
You could be a tax preparer, a greeter, or an interpreter at 30 convenient locations in only 2 to 4 hours a week.
Sounds like a great opportunity. Where do I sign up?
UnitedWayTampaBay.org. Volunteer to be a tax preparer. We need you too.
And welcome back to more Job Hunting 101, where we have in our studio a model who's dressed business professional. Pamela, thank you for agreeing to do this. Phyllis, let's take a look at her from head to toe and just sort of, is this the type of candidate you're looking for in terms of the way she's dressed for a financial analyst position at
Okay,
Raymond James?
Dale. Thank you. Yeah, Pamela has done a very, very good job with her attire today. I would point out the business suit. The length of the skirt is quite appropriate for an interview. When you look at her shoes, they're a moderate, comfortable shoe to be wearing, the right heel height. Also, I would call attention to the pearls, the necklace, and her earrings. They're not overly ostentatious. They fit right in with the suit, the blouse as well. She's got the right amount of jewelry on. And of course, she's carrying my favorite portfolio. So I think Pamela's done a very good job today.
Right. It really doesn't matter what brand her suit is, how much she paid for it, or what store she got it from, does it? That's really nobody's business, is it?
It really doesn't. I mean, you can find suits just like this in almost any retailer that are quite affordable. A person should not use that as a parameter to not go for a job interview if they feel like they have to have top-of-the-line apparel. That really isn't necessary, because as an interviewer, we don't know, we can't tell. But the fact that she's very well coordinated, obviously the jacket matches the skirt. I think we mentioned earlier in our program that it doesn't always have to match. You can have a different colored skirt that blends in well with the jacket. That would have worked as well in this particular example.
Terry, what's the rule of thumb as it relates to the hosiery?
Well, it needs to be neutral. What she is wearing is a perfect representation. You know, it's neutral and it's very classy, so it looks nice.
Right. What about she has looks like she has on her right hand or right wrist she has her watch, and so her jewelry is conservative. It's basic.
Yes, and that's what you should stick with. Nothing that's flashy, you know, and she's done a nice job with that. The watch is good because it serves a purpose.
Right. I think you probably would both agree that overkill would be coming in with some stiletto heels.
Yes.
That would be a bit much.
Yes, it would be.
Besides, it would be difficult for Pamela to walk if she's not used to it.
Yes.
We're going to come back and share some other interview attire samples in just a moment.
Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance and WorkNet Pinellas offer workforce solutions designed to improve your business.
We have worked with WorkNet since 2005. We've been able to do so much more than we would have with the support from WorkNet.
We've been able to continue to develop our education department. Our employees have recognized this as a benefit. They've named us as one of the best places to work for the past 4 years, according to the Tampa Bay Business Journal.
To learn more about our no-cost programs and services, visit workforcetampa.com or worknetpinellas.org.
Hi, how are you doing today?
What looks good?
Our special today is shrimp scampi. It's been sitting around for about a week.
Excuse me, what time are you guys leaving? We're gonna rob your house tonight.
Don't you wish there were warnings to protect you from life's risks? With diabetes, there is one. It's called A1C, a simple blood test that helps measure your risk of a heart attack and other complications. Learn more at diabetesac.org.
The Tampa Bay Workforce Alliance and WorkNet Pinellas offer workforce solutions designed to improve your business.
I've really valued my relationship with WorkNet Pinellas and have been instrumental in keeping us informed with new educational trends.
We've really seen our employees grow in their own personal development. It has not only exceeded Power Design's expectations, but our employees' expectations as well.
To learn more about our no-cost programs and services, visit workforcetampa.com or worknetpinellas.org.
Job seekers, you can upload your resume, view job postings, and research labor market information at employflorida.com. Welcome back to more of Job Hunting 101. My name is Dale Green, host of the program. We're very delighted to share some very pertinent information with you. We have another model in the studio. His name is Brian, and his facial hair would indicate that he's not a rock star. He's a conservative person who's wearing a pinstripe suit. Terry, let's talk about your first impressions.
Okay. Very good point, Dale. The facial hair is important. That's one of the things that stands out. And Brian has done a nice job. He's very clean shaven, which looks good. His hair is well done. It's very tidy, and he has a nice cut. It's not long, you know, it's not messy. It's just, he looks very professional. And then moving to his clothing, his attire, perfect. He has the black suit, pinstripes, matching jacket, matching pants, very professional look. He has the white shirt on, very crisp, clean, looks nice. And the tie, not too vibrant of a color, you know, it blends nicely. Down to his shoes. He's wearing closed-toed shoes, which he should for a male. But the black shoes that blend nice with the look, and yeah, he's done a great job. As far as jewelry is concerned, he is not wearing any type of jewelry that stands out. You know, no earrings. There are no. He doesn't have any. He has one ring, which is nice to see, and it's very simple and it looks good. So, and he's carrying his portfolio. Again, it's the black portfolio, blends nicely with his look.
Right, and he's buttoned up. He has the button-up look.
He does.
And he has buttoned himself up.
He does.
That's a good. What's your
one observation or one thing that I'd like to add here is that, you know, while Brian is very clean-shaven, I would add that, you know, for someone who may have long hair that's going into an interview, one of the recommendations would be to pull it back away from the face. Secure, perhaps with a bit of gel, just so that everything stays in place and is behind the person, so that when they're interviewing it's not as exposed, because, you know, people are hired who have long hair. So that's just a recommendation.
Yes.
Can he get away with a ponytail as a man?
You can. Probably not recommended, but you can.
Yeah.
I would agree.
I guess you can always grow it back, but to make a good first impression, do you want to satisfy your significant other or your friends, associates, acquaintances, or do you want to get the job?
Well, and I think, you know, Dale, truth be told, I think, you know, some of it depends on the culture, because if you're interviewing in an artist type environment, sure, graphic artists, creative environment, marketing environment, public relations environment, something like that would be more acceptable versus perhaps where I live, you know, a financial services environment. So again, that's something that, you know, it really is going to depend on the culture and the industry and the nature of the business.
Right. Yeah. We'd like to thank Brian for letting us twist his arm, to volunteering for this today, but does he not make a good first impression?
Yes, he does.
He definitely does.
Right. We're going to take a look at business casual and see, we're stepping down just a bit in terms of, as Phyllis said, the culture, the environment, and have another model to come in and show what they are wearing to make a good first impression. Ladies, wanted you to just comment on Pamela and her business casual attire. She could be in shadowing for a job, or, you know, on her probation period. She could be going to orientation. She could be in a call center. Tell us what you think about what she has on.
I'll take this one, Dale,
sure,
because being in the hospitality world,
right,
this is actually very suitable attire, I think, for someone that's interviewing for a job in one of our restaurants, because she is dressed in a very professional look. Her colors are very subtle. She has the black pants. She has closed-toed shoes. Again, she has jewelry that's very suitable. Nothing that's real flashy, nothing real elaborate. She's carrying her portfolio again, which looks very nice. All of those things we look for in retail world. Someone that is maybe a sales associate, someone that's coming in to interview as a server. This is definitely good. You also mentioned call center. Absolutely. You know, you want to look at the environment, research the company, understand what their office environment is like, and this would be a nice attire coming in to interview for like a call representative in a call center as well.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would also add to that, Dale, I mean, when you look at the sweater that Pamela is wearing, I mean, it's a nice color. It doesn't flash.
Very subtle.
It's a subtle color, a pastel. It fits right in. It doesn't announce her before she arrives.
Right. And I think you had said earlier, Phyllis, when we were discussing this off the air, that you get into the culture. You kind of find out during your 90-day or 6-month probation who's wearing what. And
exactly.
when. Yeah. Casual Friday, you don't want to be too casual. You want to be, business casual is sort of a good median, happy median.
Exactly. And I think that there are from time to time different interpretations of what business casual are. And I think, again, to your point, you have to take the lead of others in your organization, because it could mean one thing in one environment. I mentioned earlier about, you know, the whole marketing environment and artistic environment. It may mean something very different there than it does, you know, versus an insurance environment. So.
It does.
We're going to take a look now at an example of business casual, and Brian is the epitome of business casual, is he not?
He is, Dale. You know, when you take a look at Brian, you see that obviously he's wearing clothes that fit. I'd like to call attention to the belt and, of course, the shoes. They both match. It's highly recommended that when a gentleman wears pants that have belt loops, that they wear a belt with it, and he has certainly covered off on that. Another thing that I'd like to call attention to is when you look at the top of Brian's shirt, he has it buttoned up to the place where it should be. There's no excess skin, there's no excess chest hair that's showing, and so that makes it appropriate for, you know, an interview in the business casual environment.
Let me add that he has pants that are pulled up to his waist as they should be, and they are the appropriate size. They're not 4 sizes too big. That's very trendy now, out on the streets, but not in a job interview.
Exactly. And also, when you wear light colored pants, as Brian has on now, you just have to assure you know, that they're pressed, because they do show wrinkles more than a darker pair of slacks would show. So that's another thing that we would want everyone to be aware of.
Who says you can't wear light colored pants in Florida after November? You can. This is the subtropics. We're going to take a look in just a moment of an entry-level worker, an entry-level youthful worker. We have youth programs at both of the workforces on both sides of the bay.
I'm a single mother of 2 kids. I work a lot. I come home tired. We do miss a lot. He dropped off for a whole month. Sometimes I would talk to him and he wouldn't even turn around and look at me. I just get frustrated because in any way that I talk to him, it just doesn't go through his head. I didn't give up because there's always hope that they'll snap out of it.
Give your teen the boost they need to graduate. Call 1-877-4A-KID or join us at boostup.org for tips and advice.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Employers, you can search candidate resumes and research labor market information at employflorida.com. And we're just about to wrap up our final segment here on Job Hunting 101, and Antonia has joined us, and she has a great example of business casual. Ladies, what do you think about what she has on? One thing I'll say at the outset, she's covering up her midriff. We don't need to see the muffins or lack thereof.
It's a good point, Dale. Yeah, Antonia does. She does present the image, and she presents the image in a couple of ways. Professionally, she is dressed very nicely for an interview or for even working in an environment like a retail environment. However, ever so tempting, that cell phone in your hand. You know, cell phones are attached to our teenagers' hands today, but we want to make sure that when we come in for that interview that we don't have that cell phone accompanying us to the interview. So I would suggest that she leaves that outside. Other than that, I think that she presents a nice professional image.
What if she had a cell phone inside of a very small purse?
That's okay as long as it's turned off.
Exactly.
Keep it off.
Dale, one thing that I would add, when you are looking at a first job, so you're not as much of a professional in the job hunting world, you know, we see that Antonio does not have a jacket with this, and that's actually okay for someone who's looking to interview for their first job. So I just wanted to call attention to that. That will work in her interview environment.
Mm-hmm.
So she could be a receptionist at Raymond James, or she could be at Front Burner Brands,
Mm-hmm.
Melting Pot, Burger 21 and Grill Smith. She could be there also as a reception or as a hostess in one of the eating establishments.
Yes, she could be.
I think we've seen our latest example of business casual, and it does work. It doesn't have to be expensive, does it?
It does not.
Right. I also wanted to talk about piercings, earrings for men, and those kinds of things. How, earrings out or earrings in for men?
I would strongly recommend earrings out. It just doesn't present the look that you need for an interview.
Right.
Even in some workplace environments too. I think Phyllis has referenced it several times throughout the program. But learn what your workplace environment expects, and as far as wearing those even after you're hired. So yeah, keep that in consideration.
Right. When you're wearing things and you're trying to make a good first impression, the nonverbal, such as your email address. My email address is dalegreen@hotmail.com. Now I have some alter egos, but that's not really germane to a work environment, is it? To have some alter ego.
That's a very, very good point, and I think a lot of people miss that point. You know, and we've seen them. I mean, they come through in the applicant tracking systems. We see them, and they're unique. They're not...
And outlandish.
Absolutely, outlandish. That's a great word for it, Dale, outlandish. And so I think a lot of people miss the point. That leaves an impression on an organization. Create a separate one just for your job search and have it be your name at one of the carriers. That's the safest way to handle that.
Right. Another thing you wear is your cell phone message. How conservative should that be?
Yeah, that's a good point on that too. Just how you have reached, Terry Fur Hoskins, please leave a message, is just appropriate. Don't leave any information about where you are, what you're doing, what you're involved in, who your boyfriend, girlfriend is, remove all of those things.
What about Beethoven? What if you call me as an applicant to set up a second interview and I had 30 seconds of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony? Preceding my message.
I think 30 seconds of any music.
Don't you like symphony?
No, of course I do. I'm a symphony buff, but I think 30 seconds of any type of music is 30 seconds too much. Because typically what happens with those is that you're waiting, in addition to the 30 seconds of the music, then you're waiting before that bell rings for you to leave a message. And that just isn't kosher as far as I'm concerned. I think you have to use better judgment on that one as well.
Right. When people are offering you things during an interview, especially coffee, other than something clear like water, my gosh, if you have on a white shirt, let's say I didn't wear a coat for this interview, that's the worst thing that could happen to a man or woman is to spill some coffee on their blouse or their shirt. What's the rule of thumb, or is there a rule of thumb on accepting beverages?
Well, I definitely agree with what you're saying. I would stick with more of the clear beverages. Water's nice, the Sprites, the 7-Ups, those sort of things, because it's safe. Coffee is probably not a good idea to have a coffee down the front of your tie or down the front of your shirt. Always pack one of those stain removal pens or something like that. It's always nice to have because you never know if lunch is involved in the interview, what could happen. So it's better to be prepared.
And I have a different twist on that.
Okay.
I think that it is the responsibility of the interviewing manager to offer that water. I know personally I've been in interviews and I can just tell that I may not get another thing out of my mouth unless I have a drink of water, and yet no one offered it. And a lot of people are fearful to ask for it because they may not understand the protocol. So I think it's on our part, it's our accountability and our responsibility to offer water, and I would stick with the clear as well.
Right. The interview is at 2 o'clock, yet the candidate had lunch at 11:30, and they had a deluxe something from, like I saw in the paper today, some Tex-Mex kind of with onions from Burger 21, which I might dine on after I get through interview. But I mean, breath mints are important. You have to come prepared to be your best.
You're right. You're describing the total package, and the total package includes, the breath mints, the look, the everything. So you're right.
Right. Anything else that you think I might have left off regarding when it comes to interview attire? The piercing you said leave off. The pins, that's an important thing. 5 of these pins in one office retailer for 50 cents. If I've applied online, why should I come to you as an HR person and asking, say, do you have a pen? Can I get a pen from you? I'm out of pens.
Pens and also paper. You know, you're bringing that portfolio, have some paper in there so you can take notes. It always looks nice to take those notes. Have some questions jotted on those notes before you arrive, so that's important too. And then, yeah, again, that's all part of your preparation.
Right. We've covered everything. Can you think of anything we left out?
I just think in general, good hygiene. You know, when you think about it, you mentioned breath mints. Well, there's other scents that could be prevalent. And so I just think thinking in terms of good hygiene for the total body before going into an interview is the best route.
Right. We certainly do thank you for informing our viewing public of all you've had to share. We can tell the years of experience you bring have brought to this program today, and we certainly do want to thank you very much for rearranging your schedule, all in the middle of those breaks, to make sure that we completed this program to let our listeners and our viewers know about the Job Hunting 101. All things they wanted to know but were afraid to ask. Thank you so much for being on our program.
Thank you, Dale.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
Job seekers, you can upload your resume, view job postings, and research labor market information at employflorida.com.